Hello, Bl'Artagnan here with Spiritus Ramuh. We're fighting a couple of Abyssal Anzu here, and we have a team of Rydia, Galuf, and Edward. Before we get too deep into it, be sure to hit the like button on that video and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about the fight. Oh boy, I know this is a little later than I usually like to post, but man, we have been getting our asses kicked by illness in the Bl'Art house. Little baby got tummy bug and pink eye. It's pretty bad. So thoughts and prayers for baby Bl'Art. Did manage to get around to this though, and I actually enjoyed the fight and the team enough that I would just like, you know what, I'll post this anyway. We'll make it happen. So what do we got going on here? We got some birds, we got Galuf, we have the Lena base call coming out here because I wanted to get that. Well, okay, where to begin? We got a lot of thought process stuff going on in this particular fight and video. With the frame turns, so, you know, evasion and counter and all that's gonna be great. Lena's there because they led off there on their second turn with an AoE attack that applies a really powerful poison, frame poison, and I just didn't want to deal with that, because specifically, it's kind of a playing it. I didn't actually know if it would come up, but I was hoping to avoid getting that poison, at least until Rydia's evasion kicked in, so that when they turn off our battery, we aren't starting from zero necessarily with, like, you know, stuff like Brave Retain and things. Just a slight damage increase. I don't actually know if it was going to matter, but I was like, you know what, we had the Lena base call here. We're bringing it actually because I wanted a full heal, because I had a feeling that late in the fight there was a chance that we might possibly end up running afoul of their AoE attacks, and so I was like, you know what, big heal from Lena is going to be what gets us there. So you'll actually notice the enemy's going to be taking a lot of turns because we took off all the speed passives from our party here. So we got like 2 speed passives on Rydia and Edward, and I don't think the Galuf only has 1. So we took all those off. That means we're going to be getting hella counters. And this fight actually makes a great case, I think, for why Rydia is a good FR, even though people are all like, oh, it's just a worst wall FR. It actually is not, because it lets you synergize with evasion characters, which is potentially very powerful. In this particular fight, it is quite powerful, because the enemy has like a bunch of, you know, attacks that ignore HP damage reduction, and they have guaranteed hit, true, but we don't actually care about that because Galuf is invincible. Like, his LD turned him into such a good all-around unit, because even if he's not dodging, he's countering and he's just tanking their stuff. The notable thing here is the big single target HP attack that they do if they have enough Brave, which they often do because they battery like crazy, or regen like crazy. He just tanks it, like whatever. I guess I should probably comment on Edward being there, huh? I like Edward. We know this. This is known. He is you know, part of the most overpowered FR in the game, arguably. Well, I mean, the FR, whatever. We're not gonna talk about Penelo. I'm joking about him being in Penelo's FR. If you know, you know. But he's actually here to serve a couple of purposes. One, it's kind of one actually doesn't end up working out. We'll get to that later. One is a secret tech, which we'll bring in later in the fight, and one is because he's actually just kind of a good all-around support. His auras are quite potent, quite solid auras. People forget that about Edward, I think, because they just think about his debuffs. But he actually has some solid Brave damage in his kit, which is great, because once they go below 70, as you see here, well, okay, let's skip over things. 90%, they did that thing where they stack their turns up, they get an extra turn on the next time they act. They're doing it again here because they do it again at 40%. Once they hit 70%, they transform from blue to black, and that means they turn off your battery, but they lose the frame turns and the Brave floor. They still get AoE attack. Functions a little differently, but whatever. Dark Surge, it gravities you and then hits you instead of, like, you know, Brave attacking you and hit you. No big deal. Important thing here, we have been sitting at 999 force time for a while because we've just been dodging and dodging and dodging and dodging, because Galuf and Rydia is an awesome combination, especially when you take off their speed passives. I also made a point of waiting until the enemy force gauge was over 30% because they get a speed debuff aura at that point, so we are taking fewer turns. Praying here that Rydia is going to be taking the last turn of the force time here. The next, at like 50, they nerf your attack, but we're not letting them get to that point during the force time. So we go ahead and real quick toss out a Donk Town there, do some chunky damage. And Rydia is going to take us home with, honestly, this is honestly overkill. We really didn't need to do this. A couple of things we do here. Rydia, any moment now. Make the decision. I was trying to do the calculation here. I'm like, is it worth it? Because once we get in the 9%, a couple of things happen. One, they don't die because they can't go below 9%. They just passively just can't do it. When they hit 9%, assuming you are not in summon or force time, they automatically do their force attack. That's something we have to be ready for. That's why I summoned here, so I could make sure that our team was not anything less than pristine health, just in case. The one thing I knew that could kill us is AoE damage, and I didn't want the force attack to like suddenly cheese us. I also pressed the Edward EX there by mistake. Shouldn't have done that. Didn't need to do that. I brought Edward partially here because I was thinking, oh, you know, for the AoE attacks, because there's so much gravity and regen in there, I'll just use his EX stacking to nerf it, and it just won't happen. Unfortunately, they cleanse when they do their force stack, and I didn't realize that when I first built this team. It still works. This is still going to work. Just you wait. But Edward's EX isn't actually going to be a factor here. That, by the way, is why I brought the Shell Call at the very beginning, if you noticed. I was planning on doing that like here to get like 2 quick Edward's EXs in a row. But it still wouldn't have been enough like to turn their battery off. They also get a ton of turns and probably will chew through the debuffs. The debuff they won't be chewing through here much is Sleep, Edward's other debuff. That's something I really love about Edward. He can just play in a counter team, an off-turn team like this, really well, just good battery and damage and auras. And then if and when you need them to not act for whatever reason, you can be like, no, you stay right there, take a nap, take a chill pill. The reason we want them napping is because the enemy mechanic here is they've regened 40% of their health. And we could just kill them, in theory, just by kill them to death right now. But as I mentioned, I was nervous about the AoE attacks that they did. That was the one thing, as you probably saw, could kill us. Actually, funny thing about that, keep that in mind. But I was scared of the AoE attacks, and I figured, you know, why deal with the AoE attacks now if I can just stall them out with 24 turns of sleep? God bless Edward. Plus more when he uses his EX, because great character, I love him. It's really kind of funny to me when a character like Edward, like, one of those C90s that got passed over is actually still quite useful, and not just for copium reasons. He actually is quite helpful here. Speaking of being helpful, whoa, that almost killed us. Jesus Christ. That was dangerous. So yeah, as I mentioned before, they get a lot of turns, and they can chew through your debuffs. So we're gonna go ahead and sleep really quick. Just put them in bed. The thing is, they're going to die once they run out of force turns. They do like the brothers Spiritus thing where they're just like, you know, good job, and they leave. This means we obviously want to heal up before then. I don't know what the HP requirement is, and I don't feel like finding out that it is lower than I can deal with. So Gallup's going to go ahead here and use that the LD call we brought in at the beginning of the fight to heal up. There we go. Cover, just so we don't waste sleep turns. Re-lullaby, just to be on the safe side. It's kind of funny, actually, because the battery was turned off before. If I had lullabied, I think it doesn't do damage. I actually don't. I think that they turn off the battery deactivation thing during this phase, so even though Black is on the field, it's not a problem. But anyway, there we have it. Not a bad fight. Easier than Pandemonium Brothers, in my estimation. Like a regular Shinryu fight, almost. But anyway, I hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching. And I forgot to equip Edward's Ultima Weapon. Son of a... No wonder he was doing such... God...